The chapters start with the event that occurred started without a single warning. Later on, science proved that a world similar to Earth existed across the universe. On that planet, a certain event had occurred and the planet was torn to pieces. As a result, fragments of that planet began to fly towards Earth, and parts of the planet began to merge with ours. That was the adhesion phenomenon. That's how the unusual laws of nature and a variety of monsters were introduced to Earth. With that, 17 seconds of the Earth's area was affected, and humans lost control over the land. The danger zones are eventually called dungeons. Humans weren't given any time to prepare for these monsters. They, as a species, didn't have the ability to do anything. However, they were fortunate. Disaster wasn't the only thing that came from the other world. The natural limits that humans were born with and the limitations to their potential caused by the natural laws of the Earth were completely shattered. Although this was a phenomenon that affected all humans on Earth, the abilities awakened were different for everyone. The chosen few decided to train individuals who utilized their newfound potential and abilities regained control over the dungeons. They were special agents working for that sole reason and were known as adventurers. That was when the age of dungeons and adventures began. The entire world praised their accomplishments and was inspired by their strength. Not long after that, organizations focusing on the training of adventurers were created throughout the world. The best adolescent training facility in the Republic of Korea, which has managed to produce the best adventurers for the last 25 years, was the world-renowned Warrior High School. Dae-Choi is a famous blonde-haired student at Warrior High School. His father is a famous adventurer, and his mother is an elf. He is said to be a genius, and people claim that he will enter the top ranks of the adventurers within 5 years of graduating. Yujerion, on the other hand, is a student from Donggang High School who also works as a dungeon smuggler to make money for his father's hospital bill. Dungeon smuggling is an illegal activity conducted to enable adventurers who don't want to pay taxes. The taxes needed to make sure that the treasures adventurers get from exploring the dungeon are inspected and registered. This is done to ensure that the treasures are not used for evil deeds by those with incredible strength. Jerry Ong was summoned to assist a client by his broker, MJ Wan. The client refused to use his service because he was just a high school boy. The client's right-hand man, Ilju, who has a built body, attacked him. Jerry Ong managed to dodge and attack him back. They realized that the boy was not just a mere child. The reflexes and the force behind his kick had already reached the level of a pro. Pilgu still didn't believe that Jirian was indeed the best dungeon smuggler are there, and he decided to do another attack after the adhesion people began to awaken abilities that exceeded their limitations. However, every person would have different builds and talents, and as expected, it would awaken different latent abilities. The adventurers undertook training that matched their abilities and assigned roles to themselves. One of them is the tank, a position in which they protect their teammates from the dangers of the dungeon. Their role is to face monsters head-on at the front line. The strength of their body, trained to its limit, allows them to shrug off bullets from personal weapons. And top-tier tanks can even handle the overwhelming firepower of missiles easily. They are precisely protective barriers. Tank Pilgu attacked Jeryong with all his might, almost tearing the place down. In light of their overwhelming durability, tank is an unbeatable feeling. They do, however, have a clear weakness and a natural adversary, an entity capable of concentrating a powerful destructive force into a single point. For example, a damage dealer that is far more skilled than them would have no issue destroying a protective barrier like that. Just like now when Jerry Ong used his staff in one swing taking Pilju down. Pilyu was flabbergasted and asked where he learned to swing so powerfully. Jerry Ong acted oblivious, but he knew it might be from his father. When Jerry Ong was very young, his father was his greatest adventurer. It wasn't just because he was his father. Yujin was one of the first-generation heroes who could be called the first ever adventurers. To those who haven't experienced it themselves, the history of the first generation is a great legend. But to the adventurers of that time, it was hell. There wasn't enough information about what a dungeon was or what kind of monsters dwelled within it. For example, Gecko Malith is the kind of monster that is considered easy to defeat now, but not back then. That era was an unknown calamity. It was a time when there weren't any skills to fight the monsters, nor the items that are so common now. In such desperate conditions, the first generation of adventurers went through trial and error, risking their life. The survivors passed on their experience and accomplishments to the next generation, and were established as heroes. Jirian's father was the dragon slayer, and Asia's top-ranking adventurer. Jerion respects and reveres him more than anything in the world. However, during his explorations, Yulu Xiong had come across a deadly poison. After a decade of overworking himself, his body was already at its limit. His colleagues took advantage of his vulnerability and stole his fortune and work. For years, he suffered both mentally and physically. Years later, the world began to forget the dragon slayer. Yu Xiong lost his identity as a hero and adventurer as Jerry Ong managed to beat the right hand. MJ Hawan doubled the payment for the work. The Imperial Wasp is a monster whose degree of danger is considered the highest in all of the world. The Wasp's nest became Korea's demon realm with the highest difficulty. Even for a top-tier adventurer, taking on one of them is difficult. According to the client, there was a huge raid yesterday that wasn't publicized. The government's army and 7 white-rank adventurers made up an attack squad. They failed to accomplish their goal of eradication, but they succeeded in hunting down the queen bee. One of the 7 stole the royal jelly of the wasp and ordered a subordinate within the attack squad to smuggle it out. Royal jelly is a nutritional supplement that the wasps feed to a newborn queen. It is said that if a human eats it, they can come back from the dead. The Adventurers Association and the government claimed that all the pathways towards the dungeons were strictly managed, but it wasn't true. Jayawan drove Jirian there and then left him. After the adhesion dungeons herein, there were created across the earth. Among them, there are 2 considered the greatest within Korea: Jeju-doa Dungeon, fused with the volcanic mountain range, and the former Boreim, fused with the Eiger Jungle, both of which are located in the heart of Seoul alongside Uido, Mapo, Yongsan, and Yongdeungpu. Many adventurers lose their lives trying to explore the region, and the treasures remain undiscovered. One of the subordinates managed to transport it to the meeting area, but he lost contact after arriving at the meeting area. All Jiriong has to do now is get on site and bring back what he had if he finds it. He was told to focus and not get distracted. The royal jelly of a sky wasp is precious, so humans aren't the only ones who are willing to risk their lives to get it. The entire forest smells like it, and plenty of things are going to be attracted by its smell. Jiriong even found a giant footprint along the way. Jin Sire Rome is a first-year student at Warrior High School. She was going on a trip to the dungeon for her midterm, but she faced a monster that should be in there. The test was to collect as many coins that were placed within the dungeon as possible in the given time limit. It was a test to simulate real-life combat situations. It should have been easy considering the place was a beginner's training ground. After all, the monsters that live there should be weak and have a low intelligence level, but now she faces a giant monster called Titan Ape. Serum realized that she was hopeless, but she still decided to fight back using her arrow. None of her shots had yet pierced the monster. Serum was a magic ranger, a class whose arrow tips were imbued with magic. She used a skill called flame bombardment. The magic was limitless. As a last resort, she used an explosion of the greatest magnitude she could manage. It should have been enough to kill any monster with the danger rank of 3 stars, but the Titan Ape dodged it. She chose to run away, and she met Jerry Ong there. Jerry Ong used a tool called the Stunning Torch to blind the Titan Ape. It was crafted from the scales of a flickering fish found in deep-sea dungeons. It had an incapacitation ability that is incredible for its price, and it was once loved by countless adventurers. With its incredible performance and poor usage, several adventurers began to lose their abilities, so its usage and production are now strictly banned. Jiriong told Serum to take responsibility for her own life and go. He left her, not wanting to be stomped down as a smuggler, but she followed him. She told him that she wanted to thank him and give him a job. Jerry Ong looked at the symbol on her t-shirt and noticed her student status. He was about to leave her again and warned her not to follow him until she offered the number. The payment for smugglers is 50 million won, while the payment for poachers should be 400 million and 5,000 won. Jerry Young was appalled by the offer, thinking she was just making fun of him, but she showed him a diamond necklace called In Kills Blood and the down payment. She said that she would pay the rest as well if he helped her with her midterms. Jerry Young told her that she was crazy. The reason he told her to leave was because the Titan ape would soon wake up, and it did. He handed serum his staff and told her to do the strike he did earlier and cast it at the end of his staff, then throw it back to him. Serum was unsure because she barely has a quarter of her magic power left. She contemplated running all by herself while Jerry Young got the monster's attention, but she didn't recklessly. She did exactly what Jerry Young told her to do. The students of Warrior High School have heard that when fighting a monster, the most important thing is not just brute force alone, but also a sense of timing and the ability to aim the attacks accurately. So Serum was star to see how Jerry Ong struck for the Titan ape's neck using his staff in just one try. Here is the end of part 1. Thanks for watching.